moving northeast towards the university area from NODA, North Charlotte, towards the university, towards eventually the Speedway, the drag strip, Concord Mills, so southwestern Cabarrus County. Just think of this going straight up and along 85, basically, in the northern part of the county. Okay, guys, I think I have my data back so we can zoom in. We'll hopefully stay up for a while. So there's a couple areas. These things are flying, Chris. Look at this. We've got this little burst of wind here. We've also got one up to the north in Rowan County. So this is moving out of Mecklenburg into Cabarrus, but we likely could have issues in Rowan County as well. So this entire area, don't worry about where the winds are. This is the area we're focusing on. If you're in Rockwell, Concord, Kannapolis, Harrisburg, University, Speedway, East Huntersville, East Mooresville, and then anywhere near 485 and 85, everybody in this area, we want you to seek shelter in that interior room right now. If you are listening to us right now, call and text somebody you know that lives and works in this area. Tell them to do the same thing. We'll give you the all clear. It's going to come quickly because this thing is flying to the northeast, Chris, at about 45 to 50 miles per hour. Here comes the radar data. Again, these they don't look like much, but this is what these often look like on radar to us. When we see these little bursts of wind, remember, sometimes all it takes is, we call it a rear flank downdraft to come out of these storms. Sometimes that's all it takes to spin something up real quick. These could last 30 seconds, 45 seconds, but they could do a lot of damage in a short period of time. Chris has got the other radar source with the actual warning. So Chris, let's take a look at that, and you can see that track pretty much from Charlotte right into Cabarrus County, near Harrisburg, all the way up. I would even say Rowan County probably needs to be ready to seek shelter with this as well.
Well, and that's what you were just saying too, Brad, is we also have that blinking yellow. I know it's an absolute mess. That's where we have the severe thunderstorm warning with the tornado tag. Literally, if you're following on WCNC Plus, it's always the advantage. You could see a clear couplet that was passing Brookshire Boulevard. So if you live around Lawton Road and Brookshire Boulevard, that's where we first started to see it really start to turn up. And then you start over NODA. But Brad, I think this is going to be another case and scenario. It says to the northeast at 40 miles per hour, but I think it's going to outrun this warning. So that means even if you're ahead of it around, say, Mount Pleasant, Concord, I think you're going to see it much earlier than you think, because we're seeing bursts of wind already starting to work its way into Rowan County. And then if you're watching in Concord right now, I would get into your safe place now, even around Harrisburg. It is pretty much on your doorstep. You don't underestimate how fast this is moving.
Yeah, when we talked about the little delay in the stream, with these storms, they're moving so fast, you almost have to think way ahead of the line. So we often say, you're looking at live radar, you're watching us live. Nothing is live. The pictures you're seeing, this has already happened. Now, it's happened 30 seconds a minute ago, but this is already, if you're moving 50 miles per hour, imagine being on a road and you're watching traffic go by and you take a snapshot of that and then you show someone that snapshot. That car isn't in the same spot. It's way off to the northeast if it's moving 60 or 70 miles an hour. When these storms are moving in this direction this fast, by the time we see it on radar, it's already here. By the time we see it on radar there, it's already there. So this thing is flying. So if you're in Harrisburg, the Speedway area, anywhere near the track, and then eventually, as Chris said, I would even say Kannapolis, China Grove, eventually up towards Rockwell. So this is really going fast. I think Concord, Mount Pleasant, those are areas I would be worried about next as this pushes off to the northeast at a pretty quick pace of speed. I'm going to actually look back. What's the actual speed on those, Chris? Did they give an actual number?
They said 40 miles per hour, but I honestly think that they've been underestimating this. So I've been putting in general, I would say about 45 miles per hour that I think that we're going to see this. I also brought this up too, Brad. So what you're looking at here, it's always a jumble mix. Ignore the purple, but you see these little bright spots of yellow. We're starting to see those ahead of the front line, and how that translates here. I'll show you what it looks like on the radar. That literally is with here, and you can see a little bit of a notch that correlates here. So I want everyone, I'm telling you, it's outrunning it so fast. Poplar Tent, we mentioned Concord. Well, it's already pretty much there right now. So the tornado warning is great, but notice that we're starting to see some activity north of that. Anyone that lives within those warnings, if your Alexa, whatever it is, sorry if that we chimed it for you, if it says you have a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado tag, things can happen in a blink of an eye. Because I really think that the worst of this system that we've seen so far that triggered the tornado warning, I think it's already passed. It doesn't mean that it's not going to restart again. That's the problem with these. That's why I want everyone that is upstream from this or downstream, say anywhere here in eastern Cabarrus County. I've been mentioning right around Georgeville, and you're a little bit further away, right around Mount Pleasant as well. You need to be ahead of this because we can't keep up at this point, Brad.
Yeah, I agree completely. I actually think maybe 50-55 might be more the wind speed or the storm motions. And one of the things, Chris, I noticed yesterday in the days leading up to this, one of the things that first struck me was going to be the storm motion on these. And what we mean by that is how fast they're going to move. When storms move fast, they're hard to warn for, but they're also going to produce strong winds. Because if you think about a storm moving 50 miles per hour, just that movement alone can push the air at 50 miles per hour with the downburst coming out. So we've got some camera views up here. James is back there. Thank you, James. We've got a view from the Speedway. So, Chris, this is actually where that storm is right now. This camera is not very well based, I could tell you that, because it blows in the winds. But this is a lot of movement even for this camera. So we're getting buffeted by some pretty strong winds. And by the way, this is looking back past the Smith Tower, looking towards the entrance of Charlotte Motor Speedway. There's a carnival going on across the street there in the parking lot right now. I think it's the All-American Carnival or something. Off to the right would be the drag strip. So we're looking straight back towards uptown Charlotte. So we're looking southwest. So this is right where this storm is moving. And James, I don't know if you can move this, but I would love to move this to the right, which would be more west or northwest, because I have a feeling this might pass very close to this area. So when we move this camera right, it would look back towards Kannapolis and Concord, downtown Concord. So if you're not familiar with this area near the Speedway, it's Charlotte Motor Speedway, but it's actually over in Cabarrus County. So it's very close to Harrisburg and over the county line. So this is close to the north side of Mint Hill, heading towards Concord, Mount Pleasant, Harrisburg area. So that's where the tornado warning is. But as Chris was correctly pointing out, there's all these little, I hate to call them spin-ups because they're hard to tell if it's actually a spin-up. To me, what they look like are just bursts of winds, and sometimes that's an indication of a tornado trying to form. Just a little bit about the science of tornado genesis. When you get a strong outflow from the back of the storm, that gust of wind that comes out sometimes is all it takes to wrap up. So we're scanning the skies there. Thanks, guys. We're looking back towards the Speedway. Okay, that's back. That's a good view right there. Stay on that one. That one's looking back towards Harrisburg. So that's when you look past turn 1 there. So it's always hard to tell. That's rain wrap, but we do have a lowering base there. The mesocyclone, which is the rotating part of the thunderstorm, tends to have a lowering. That's eventually what forms the wall cloud, and then you eventually see below it the tornado. So it's hard to tell if that's the rain shaft or the meso trying to drop, but that's probably the location we would see something. And here's the thing, we're not going to see it probably. If we do, it's like a minor miracle. And this is why in the Carolinas, if you storm chase or you think you're going to go outside and see this, you're not going to see it because it's going to be rain wrapped. And unlike this camera, oftentimes you don't have a good view. You've got trees, buildings, and hills in the way. It's not like chasing in the plains where you've got wide open views and you have what we call low precipitation supercells, which have a lot less rain in them, and they tend to be easier to view. This is much harder to see. So don't go outside and see this. If you're in these areas, please just seek shelter. We'll give you the all clear. I think that's the one good thing about this moving much quicker than anticipated today, is that we'll be able to give you the all clear.
Brad, let's go to Kannapolis. Go to Kannapolis camera.
We've got the Kannapolis camera, guys, if you can pop that up. That is going to show, I think, a little bit better.
I got on weather 2.
Okay, if we got weather 2, guys, punch that up real quick. There we go. So, so there we go. We've got, looks like some scud there. It's hard to tell, but look, okay, so that's probably more of the lowering right there. That actually looks more wall cloudish there. So that might be actually it right there, Chris, because that looks, we'll watch the clouds. Now, oftentimes people see these clouds. We at Chris Majestic, Brittany, all get these pictures. People show us, we've got rotation. Remember, rotation in a thunderstorm isn't up and down movement, isn't side to side. It's counterclockwise spin. Someone sent me a great video the other day and say, look, we have rotation. It was clockwise. And I was like, well, that's, unless we get a rare anticyclonic tornado, that was probably just the air moving. Look for counterclockwise rotation. And it's got to be quick. I'm looking at, I do see some counterclockwise rotation at the top there. It's not very fast, but there is some counterclockwise rotation there. So, Chris, that is definitely an area we'll have to watch. And what happens is the cloud's always going to rotate first, and then the funnel will drop down, or sometimes you'll actually see it come from the ground up. But look how fast that's moving too, Chris, from right to left. So that's moving from the southeast to the northeast. I bet that's moving 50 miles an hour.
Yeah, and that's when you're saying we can't keep up. And then also another testament, Brad, it's been crazy how low these clouds are. That's also makes it easier for any tornado to make a quick contact with the ground.
Yep.
And I also want to mention something, because on the backside, it's called the rear flank downdraft. You're also going to have gusty winds, but what I've also noticed, we're getting a lot of positive lightning strikes. So these are the ones that rattle the windows.
Yeah.
So don't just go outside after that, because I think we're actually seeing the worst of the lightning on the back side of this system, and you might actually see some of those lightning strikes as well. But where we're looking right now is now pushing into Cabarrus County. This is moving so fast that those that live in Rowan County, eastern Cabarrus County, likely that this storm system is going to be on your doorstep before you know it, with a lot of rotation popping up in multiple spots along the line.
Yeah, so I was just looking at that, Chris. I'm seeing at least 3 or 4 between Landis, up in Rowan County, all the way down to north of Mint Hill. So that whole line, and this is kind of what we were worried about. Chris and I talked about when I first walked in. It's like, this helps us out a little bit that arrived earlier, but just east of 77, this is now getting towards the warmer time of the morning and eventually the warmer time of day. So there's going to be a little bit more energy. So the radar data is dropping out here, guys. But what I can tell you is that from around Landis up on 85 in southern Rowan County, all the way back down to about Mint Hill, as I mentioned, this is pushing east. Now, there's probably not a specific tornado in here, but there's indications. So here comes the radar sweep, so hopefully the data will come in.
I got on weather too if you need to switch it.
So here we go. Here comes, so right in here, there's little spin-ups developing all along that line. So this is why all morning long, Chris and Majestic have been doing a great job of telling you, hey, treat these severe thunderstorm warnings today like tornado warnings. The reason we tell you that, we don't tell you that all the time. Remember, that's something we don't do all that often. But the reason we're telling you that is every one of these thunderstorms could produce a tornado real quickly. These quick spin-ups, they happen so fast by the time they show up on the radar, because the radar's scanning at 1 revolution a minute. It might see it on 1 revolution and be gone. There's about 59 seconds for that sweep to go around. A lot happens in 59 seconds in a scenario like this. So there could be a quick spin up along this line. Now, once this line moves past, we're not going to give you the all clear completely yet, but you will be clear of the main threat for severe weather, because the cold front is still lagging a little bit behind this, and there likely could be some redevelopment, but nothing as strong as what we're seeing right now around Harrisburg, Rocky River, heading into eastern parts of Rowan County, then moving north up into Rowan County as well in eastern Cabarrus, so Mount Pleasant right there. So this whole area, you guys know this area well, rolling hills, beautiful farms, all kinds of great views over here, but you're not going to have a good view of this storm. There's the tornado warning, but again, there's severe thunderstorm warnings in this whole line. So, Chris, actually, this might be the weakest part of the storm actually right now.
No,
it looks
it
like
is.
The northern part's looking a little stronger up towards Salisbury now. So
yeah, and I'll actually draw a quick line because I think we're over on my computer. So where this all originated was roughly right about down here, and then cut down through this general area, and then there was some rotation to the north and rotation to the south. But this is the problem with those tornado warnings, is that right when it started, we actually I think probably had some of the worst and the best signatures. That's another advantage of joining us on WCNC Plus, but it's going to continue this thing. But I think what's going to happen, and Brad, is this is almost fully outrunning its tornado warning. I could see it starting to get going again. Another one might be reissued as it's starting to go through its recycling process.
So, Chris, it's funny you just mentioned that arrow, because I'm just looking at LSRs coming in from the Gastonia Airport to the Charlotte Airport to Uptown. There's a swath of winds that were recorded at all those locations over 50 to 60 miles per hour. In fact, in Uptown, I believe this is the Bank of America station. There is a weather station at the top. They recorded a 61 mile per hour wind gust. On the weather stem station up there. So there was something that went through there, Chris, because it lines up. There's the LSR. See how they're lining up with your arrow? They actually go all the way back into Gaston County. And Chris correctly pointed out that positive lightning strike. You know, for us, when we see positive lightning strikes, there is a correlation between tornado genesis and positive lightning strikes. We see what are called lightning jumps. These positive strikes will happen when the rotation occurs in the thunderstorm. So there's a lot of indications. These are those ingredients, the things as scientists we look at to say, hey, there's a possible tornado in there. But the problem today is, like it is with any of these QLCS setups that we talk about often, these are moving so fast, they're spinning up so quickly and going away so quickly, the warning process is difficult. So the catch-all for this is to say, hey, anybody ahead of this line, treat them all like tornado warnings until the line moves through. So I'm going to show you another view of this. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to track the whole line, because we have a tornado warning, yes, but what I would love for everybody to do is when I draw this track, I'm going to put the speed at 50 miles per hour, because I actually think that's probably closer to the speed that these are going. We'll draw it out in this direction. So everybody in the path of this storm, look at the time and then get to shelter 5 minutes before this time. So in Waxhaw, I have 9:59. So I want you to be there at 9:54, okay? So what you're gonna do is 5 minutes earlier than all these times, and then stay there 5 minutes after we tell you they all clear. Why do we tell you that? Things are moving so fast, they could get there quicker, they could slow down. We're in a delay, we're streaming, whether you're watching us on WCNC Plus, satellite, cable, Hulu Plus, YouTube TV, all of them have delays. Very few of them are real live. Whether it's 30 seconds or a minute, there's a delay in this. So go 5 minutes earlier. By the time you hear this, I already said it. So make sure you're heading to shelter right now. In these scenarios, literally seconds matter. Get to that lowest level of your house, interior room. Here's the other thing you can do for us. Not everybody's watching us right now, or they're at work or school or doing something. You know somebody in the path of this storm that lives in any of these areas or communities near there. Call, text them, say, hey, did you know there's a tornado warning possibly heading your way? Please seek shelter. The good news, as Chris mentioned, because of this speed, it makes it hard to warn, but it also means we can clear you from the severe threat much quicker as well. Because once we get into the backside of this, it'll be breezy. There might be some minor redevelopment, but it certainly will not be as severe as what we're seeing right now off to the east. So remember those tornado safety tips. I'll bring them up real quickly here, because oftentimes we give you the warnings, we don't tell you what to do. Go to that middle room and interior room of your house, away from the outside walls and windows. And what do we mean by that? You want to put as many walls between you and the outside. I had a great question the other day. Someone said, why don't I get in my car and just drive away? Well, first of all, how would you know what direction to go? How fast? How do you know you were not driving into another storm? And not to mention the fact the tornado can go wherever it wants. You can only go where there are roads. So make sure you stay in your house. Go to that interior room. Put as many walls between you and the outside. And what those walls do, they block the debris. I think in tornadoes, people think it's the Wizard of Oz type thing. You're going to get picked up like Dorothy and taken off somewhere. No, what happens is a tornado picks up other things and throws it at you. Though we call those missiles or flying debris. So the walls, the layers, think of them as force fields. Every single one of them blocks stuff from getting to you. It's also why we tell you to have a helmet on. Kids in school that aren't in school today, if they were, they'd be doing tornado drills or tornado safety. What do? They get in the lobby or in the hallway, put their arms over their head to protect their head. So protect that head. It's all about flying debris. So think about if there's stuff flying around, how many walls can I put between me and that outside flying debris? So please do that until this storm moves out of the area. Once it does, we'll be able to give you the all clear. So Chris, that leading edge, it's probably going to get more active as it goes to the east, because it's moving into an environment that is much more favorable, and we're coming up at 10 o'clock in the morning, and there's some warming of the day. We're starting to get some heating going on out there.
Yeah, and some of the most impressive sunshine I've actually seen has been over in Union County. So just letting you know, we're not seeing any clear indications here, but you still see a lot of these brighter spots. I think this is more showing that we're seeing some really gusty winds that are along this frontal edge. Yeah. So now it's in between Concord and Mount Pleasant. If you line that up, it's correlating right along that leading edge. So I think it's right here that you're mainly just dealing with a mainly straight line wind event. However, when you have these little breaks here, we're still watching this. And notice how small that tornado warning has now gotten. Yeah. It's still going on until 10:15. Brad, I could see one of these that's probably going to end early, because we're not really seeing the impressiveness that we saw a few hours ago. Our data keeps on dropping off here, but that twist isn't as much of a real issue. But that doesn't mean that we're done. I would really, truly start to keep an eye on what's happening here down towards the south. Yeah. This is now starting to reorganize itself, because this is a very similar looking line to the one that just provided the tornado warning. It's just not there yet. So I think it's really going to be more so in Union County. You're going to have that possibility. That severe thunderstorm warning with, again, a tornado tag goes until 10:45. But what's going to happen is, out of nowhere, all of a sudden it's going to start to pick up the pace. That's a sign that those leading edge winds are starting to drive it forward. And then also on the book ends of that, sometimes you can have those little spin ups along the line. So that tornado warning, if you're just joining us, has now shrunk significantly. It first started all the way back here around NODA, and I think we first started to see that track as we were trying to line up the different storm reports that pretty much connected all the way south of Gastonia around the Gastonia Airport through Berry Hill on the western side of a little bit closer to Wilkinson Boulevard there, and then it pushed through just in the northern part of Charlotte through NODA. That's where we're seeing the most significant wind reports. And you can also do us a big favor is we can report at the National Weather Service and also kind of have a better, clear picture of what's going on. But as of right now, I think that if you live in Cabarrus County, it's mainly the leading edge of this that we're having the worst weather. Meanwhile, further off towards the north, still another severe thunderstorm warning with that tornado tag. A little disorganized right here, but then anyone that lives along this line still is going to have a chance for the heavier rain. Also, I think at the back edge of this, you're going to see a lot of lightning as well. Yeah. That rain's going to continue. And Brad, I want people to also be on guard because there's still some gusty winds behind this. With the amount of rain coming down, I wouldn't be surprised if we have some trees that fall later on in the day when people think that it's all fine. So this is the worst of the line. This is where we have the best chance for tornadoes and severe storms, but it's going to be the winds behind this that could be a few stray issues here and there. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, this whole line, I think at some point you could get a spin up. And just to reiterate that, I'll kind of widen this out. We've got a tornado warning to the north of this line up towards Mount Airy on the leading edge of it. As Chris was talking about that southern edge, I was just looking because our radar data keeps popping out, so I'm dropping between a couple different sources. But down near Hemby Bridge, Fairview, Unionville, and northern Union County, there's definitely some possible spin ups going on there. Those will go all the way up into parts of Cabarrus County and then all the way up into Rowan County, and then you go all the way up to the Virginia border near Mount Airy. That's where we have another tornado warning right now. I'm seeing down the picture there, guys. We got our Chevy Storm Tracker out there watching these storms as well, keeping a close eye on this. But it's this leading edge that we're most concerned about. This warning is likely going to expire, but as we've been saying all morning, and I'll reiterate it, you'll hear us, you'll probably get tired of us saying this, treat all the severe thunderstorm warnings today like tornado warnings. Chris talked about this. I'm sure Majestic did as well. The tornado tag, it's something we look at. Basically what it means, it's a severe thunderstorm warning where they put in the wording possible tornado, meaning there's indications there could be a quick spin up. So that's a cue to us, and it should be a cue to you, that these severe thunderstorm warnings aren't normal severe thunderstorm warnings. They're severe thunderstorm warnings that can and do produce tornadoes with little or no warning. By the time we often see the tornado on radar in these scenarios, it's already happened. So what we want you to do is treat them like a tornado warning. That way, before the line gets there, you're already in your safe spot. And even without a tornado warning, we've seen gusts in this whole line between 60 and 70 miles per hour. We've got, I wouldn't say it's a damaged path per se, but it is a line of reports, as Chris talked about, back into Gaston County through Charlotte into parts of Cabarrus County, and eventually this is going to move up into parts of Rowan County. So the winds are no joke with this. Even with the winds alone, I would want you to seek shelter in an interior room away from those outside walls and windows, because this is enough to blow branches around, lawn furniture. Any loose debris becomes the problem, breaks the window, and then you're essentially like outside. So please stay in that shelter location until we give you the all clear. Chris mentioned briefly that, yeah, there's still winds on the backside. I just want to point out to where the actual cold front is. Even though this line of storms is way ahead of us, I was just looking at where the front is. I'm going to draw it on here. It's still back in eastern Tennessee. So it's still back in here. And until that front moves through, you could get some redevelopment ahead of it, but you're going to see gusty winds just with the cold front. So if we saturate the ground with some of this rain, we could see some trees come down. Pretty good view right there. I don't know where that camera is, guys.
Union County looking
north. Okay. So yeah, that's looking north towards that line I just talked about, towards Hemby Bridge. Off to the right there, can you guys pop that up behind me if you could? That actually looks like a lowering there. That would be a spot, knowing where this camera is, I do believe that was the little the rotation we saw towards Unionville up towards Hemby Bridge. I'm going to look on the radar again. That kind of lines up with what I was looking at. So this is looking back towards Charlotte, I believe, or northeast slightly. So we got a cloud base there, very low cloud, but then off to the right there, you saw that lowering. That's kind of what we look for. That's an indication of maybe a wall cloud. That would be an area that we'd watch for interest. And what I'm going to do is zoom in on that area right now on the radar. The area we're talking about, so that camera's from Union County and Monroe. They're under a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado tag. So the area we're talking about is right here. So Monroe is here. That was looking north. This was the area of like weak rotation I saw. So our camera is looking back in this direction. It's going to see a lowering in this area. It's ahead of the main line, so it wouldn't be in the rain yet. And that's the weird thing about these QLCS tornadoes. Typically, tornadoes form on the southwest side of supercells. In QLCS, they can form on the leading edge of the line. It's a different location than we're used to looking at sometimes. So I'm going to pull up the velocity data, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Hopefully, it'll populate here. So the area around Unionville, home to the great barbecue there. That area right there, that's where we saw that rotation just east of Hemby Bridge, heading into the northern sections of Union County, out towards New Salem, north of Watson area. So that's pretty wide open terrain as well. Likely, possibly could be visible if it's on the leading edge of that line. That's a severe thunderstorm. Here comes the data, so hopefully it'll populate. So right in here, I can't keep hitting this, but right in there is where we saw that brief rotation developing. And again, it's not super strong. It looks like it's gotten a little bit weaker. Got a new tornado warning, guys, for Cabarrus County. It's kind of a weird one. Is that the same one, or they didn't delete it yet?
Let's see. Yeah, because I was also noticing, like,
I guess they're waiting to cancel. So what happens? These tornado warnings are supposed to expire at 10:15. So it's within 10 minutes of the expiration, they can't cancel them. So this happens a lot, and it's just it's a technicality with the data. So there's that lowering we saw in Union County, guys. Thanks for efforting that. So the storm is moving off in this direction. There's definitely some kind of lowering there. Sometimes just a low cloud isn't anything to worry about. We jokingly call them scary looking clouds, SLCs. Scary looking clouds happen a lot. They don't do much. What you got to look for is not just a lowering, but is it rotating counterclockwise? So this has got kind of that look to it right there. Almost looks like a little tail cloud there. So this would be a part of the storm we'd watch. It's the leading edge. It's moving to the northeast of Monroe. So that's where this camera is. It's on I think it's a government building there in downtown, looking off to the north and east. So that would be the area we watch. Chris talked about this before. One of the things we look at for the higher chance of tornadoes is the distance between the cloud base and the ground, the lifted condensation level. When the cloud base is low, it's much easier for a tornado to connect to the ground. And in these scenarios like today, the cloud base is super low. So if there's rotation in the cloud, there's not as much room between the cloud and the ground. It's much easier to form a tornado. And usually about 500 to 1,000 feet is all you need. That's pretty ideal for tornado development. So the cloud base being below 5,000 feet, and that one looks like it's about 500 feet, definitely looks like it would be much more of a threat for a possible tornado. Looks like that warning did expire, so.
Okay, and I just want to remind everyone that we are going to continue to track this because, Brad, we were live on WCNC Plus. I know there's a little bit of delay following this, and we're going to jump right back on air if we see anything here, but especially right around here, north of Unionville, we again have the data keeps on dropping off. It's right in here that it's going to be our next watch. That's where we were seeing that little appendage that was coming down, nothing that's been certified. Also, I'm seeing some really verified, really strong gusty winds that are right here around Georgeville, pushing into Mount Pleasant, turning into more of a straight line wind event. So that means anyone that lives over here in Albemarle over the next 20 minutes or so, that's going to be the big deal there. And then again, right about here, that's where we're starting to see the divide that I think that you could potentially have some spin ups here. So anyone in Union County, you need to be on guard. Even though the tornado warning has dropped off, you still have multiple tornado tags within these severe thunderstorm warnings. So we'll continue to keep you updated live on air as it's merited, but then especially on WCNC Plus.
Yeah, so we're going to go back over to WCNC Plus, I believe, guys, and we'll come back. If we do have warnings, we'll jump into linear, but it's a great tool, guys. Get WCNC Plus now. You can watch it on our app, website, and on your smart TV. Grab that right now. Our coverage will continue over there.